Instant payments are changing significantly fraud landscape. If previously we were used to fraud living together with payment cards, and that was already for years, so all the fraud prevention tools were already implemented, then instant payments, and especially now with upcoming PSD3, Payment Service Directive 3, changes landscape significantly with the fact that transactions move in seconds. So risk decisions also need to move in seconds. And that becomes a big problem because it needs to change fraud thinking from detection to prevention. And banks don't have anymore the time to take days for the decision. So how Eastnets helps here? We have two ways how we are helping. So first, our fraud detection tool combines transaction monitoring with a very efficient fraud layer with behavior of biometrics. And that's very important because how do I know that it's Dylan behind that mobile phone who is sending transaction? I don't know. And it's very challenging because bank can't add also that friction layer on stopping each transaction, neither operationally nor from customer experience level. So that's one thing where we help. Now, another thing is also we understand that fraud actually sits in silos. And we combine all together different systems, anti-money laundering, KYC, KYB, screening into one unified risk view. It's coming up now in EBA Day in 1 week's time. And it's a pretty unique tool because it combines not only Eastnet systems, but it combines any vendor systems. And that gives that unique one view and helps bank to switch from detection to prevention. Nowadays, none of European banks is really anymore one country only, very, very few. Banks become not only pan-European, banks become actually global. And what we do, we help banks to navigate flexibly by combining different data sets behind different lists. You want local lists, here you go. You want international lists, you can combine flexibly. What is also more important that sanctions with everything what's happening currently in the world, they change like overnight. Yesterday that person was not sanctioned, today he is. What's very important that our engine is also updating sanctions lists very effectively each few hours and rescreens that delta. And not only rescreens, it also provides that automated fuzzy logic matching. And independent on from which country that sanctioned person is, we also are able to handle different transliterations. And that's very important that bank has that flexibility, speed and accuracy. And we also help banks to fight with a massive problem which is called false positives, huge operational burden. So we have that very flexible mechanism behind which allows, with the help of artificial intelligence, to diminish and to suppress alerts which are becoming then true positives rather than 90% of false positives and then very small number of true positives. Biggest problem on the bank side, and not only on bank side, also on many of new fintechs in the market, is actually data fragmentation and systems fragmentation. And it's true that for one type of fraud prevention, one system specializes better on another type, how to bring now it all together. What operational teams used to do? They spend 90 to 95% of their time actually switching between the systems and collecting information together into one screen instead of making decisions. What does it create? It creates a huge backlogs, and it creates actually people turning from intelligent decision makers into paper gatherers. And what we provide, our unified case manager provides that collection of data already itself from different systems. Our systems, any other vendor systems, it collects data into one view and then detects those fraud sitting in silos, because fraud does sit in silos. It also makes those intelligent links between different systems and also across different countries. Because fraud is not only, for example, here in Netherlands or in Belgium or somewhere. It's very, very international. And even not only pan-European level. Fraudsters send money in seconds all across the globe with current systems. And with instant payments moving in seconds, it's very important that we have that one risk view and we are able to cross-track across different systems and different also patterns into one view and make that intelligent decision really in seconds. That's how we help banks, and that's very, very important because fraud liabilities, which is real, and the bank who will not follow will just pay millions. One of the main things is that we gather that intelligence layer of the payments across different systems. Yeah? So as I mentioned already, something what happens, for example, in anti-money laundering might not happen in fraud, or that interconnection actually is very, very important. Let's assume that in anti-money laundering, which works differently because it works actually on patterns. Yeah? Not on one single transaction, but on transaction pattern. We detected a fraud ring, international fraud link working globally. And now let's assume that in our bank, we have authorized push payments fraud coming in for our typically vulnerable old customers. And if we are not able to connect those two things together, we detected in one system that there is potentially fraud ring across international, not only in one country, but really internationally, globally. And now we need to link that information together and give that intelligence to fraud prevention. That's what we are able to do in Eastnets with our unified case manager and really linking that intelligence layer and helping bank to stop that fraud, which is moving really across the countries in enormous speed. We feel ourselves into our customer shoes. So what's more important in bank side, in bank's management side, to automate operations or to try to also improve operational systems. And typically, bank invests more in new products, leaving operations doing often manual work, more and more work with less resources. We come in here. We understand, we are in our customer's shoes, we understand our customer, and we help to decrease that friction. So first, our artificial intelligence solution helps to identify those gaps. So first, it helps to identify data layers across different systems, summarize, bring everything together. That would be one very intelligent thing. Then it tries to identify also all the patterns sitting among different layers. And third, the biggest problem, regulations change often. Employees at bank are tired from changing regulations, and they don't sometimes have time to read all the policies, procedures. So our artificial intelligence assistant helps to guide the assistant and say, in this country, there is this regulation in place. But listen, that alert comes from another country. I will help you. You need to combine two different approaches here, and you will be compliant with both countries' regulations. People used to say that artificial intelligence can do magic. No, it can't do magic, but it can really help. And we are using artificial intelligence as transparent help, also compliant with regulations, because we can't forget, we can't do artificial intelligence magic because we are in highly regulated industry. So we need to have the transparency, no black magic boxes. We need to be able to explain. And that's where we in Eastnets are specializing. We are able to provide auditable, compliant artificial intelligence solutions.